So this is our first after the activation tour, after the summit group meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody, and Dave is going to do a land acknowledgement. Go ahead, Dave.
Get started. Yeah, we'll see if we can build these into our meetings today and into the future. And Steve, you may recognize some of this because I borrowed from the MNCJ. We recognize that Whatcom County, where we now reside, occupies unceded ancestral homelands of the Lummi and Nooksack peoples. We acknowledge with gratitude the debt we owe them for their past and continued care of this land and the adjacent waters. We acknowledge that their lives are embedded in these mountains, these valleys, and waterways, and that their wisdom is critical for this place and our joint communities to survive. As we join together to do the work of this group, may we not only acknowledge their continuing presence, but also respect their ways and wisdom, following their guidance, and accept the hand of friendship they have generously extended. May we work alongside our Indigenous neighbors to build a strong, peaceful, loving, just, and sustainable community.
Okay, so here we go. This is our Regenerate Whatcom update meeting. We've got myself, Dave Fitter, Brian Kirkfleet, and Brandon Litzinger as presenters tonight. And our agenda will be basically to do some introductions, do some reflections on the activation tour and the summit and some of the activities that have happened. We'll give you all a chance to talk and share your thoughts. We're going to give some updates on Regenerate Cascadia and Regenerate Whatcom. We'll be talking a little bit about vision and mission from both, the background of Transition Whatcom, Sustainable Bellingham, and looking forward to a vision and mission statement for Regenerate Whatcom. But we've got a lot of slides, so we're going to try to be really brief on a lot of these things, with giving most of our attention and time to things that you guys have to reflect and to share, and questions you might have, which leads us to deepening connections, talk about some options there and some upcoming events, and some questions about, how you might want to be involved, or, what would you like to see happen? What would you like to be doing? And with that, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is David McLeod. I've been involved with Sustainable Bellingham since 2004, and then Transition Whatcom around 2008, both of which we'll talk a little bit about later. But Regenerate Cascadia is starting out as a project of Sustainable Bellingham and Transition Whatcom, so it's good to know a little bit about that. I've lived in Bellingham my whole life. I have some passion around these issues of resilience and regeneration related to both ecology and economics, and energy, and the things that we can do to evolve our consciousness. All the big picture stuff. And then be applied locally, hands-on, and so I think local and global myself. Brian, do you want to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I did want to point out, this says the coordinating team, and it's just us because we're the ones that stepped up. So we're welcome to have anybody else step up too, and we would love that. So I'm Brian from Inspiration Farm. Been in Whatcom County since '81. Involved in all kinds of different activities. Here, been involved with Transition Whatcom. I currently am on, along with David and Kelt, on the Sustainable Bellingham board. which is kind of one of the overarching 501c3 organizations that put on a variety of different events. The upcoming Salish Seed Swap is one of our recent or upcoming events, which I'll mention a little bit more, Cal can. And anyway, the Regenerate Cascadia tour was happening. I was like, oh, let's jump on board. Let's see how we can support this. So that's how I ended up here and now. And a passion of mine to help network community together along the lines of building regenerative culture and regenerative systems within our landscapes.
Thank you, Brian. Dave?
Yeah, thanks. Dave Ketter, and it's good to be here with you all again. I'm happy to see that there are now 16 of us on the call. Thank you for coming. And similar to Brian, I got an email call, whatever it was, from David when the activation tour was proposed for our area. And he invited me to help out with the coordination of those events, which I did with Brian, David, and Deb Cruz, Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship. So, but my background is in education mostly, and mostly as a classroom, high school and middle school science teacher, doing a lot of environmental sustainability and climate education, climate change education. Currently retired, but also consulting in climate change education. And so, and a lot of that work has been sort of in the mitigation end of doing good work for the planet. And now I'm turning my attention towards the adaptation and to create the new future that we all need and want. So it's great to be with such a creative group of people. So thanks.
Great.
Okay.
Well, our next slide is just to acknowledge that Regenerate Whatcom is starting out under the umbrella of Sustainable Bellingham and Transition Whatcom. Transition Whatcom is a project of Sustainable Bellingham now. They were for a while in a way independent, and yet we've always been connected very closely and utilized Sustainable Bellingham for its 501c3 status. And then late last year or sometime last year, we kind of made it more official that Transition Whatcom was actually a project of Sustainable Bellingham, and therefore Regenerate Whatcom starting out is a part of that little universe as well. And Kelt, you're on the call. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Sure. I'm on the board of Sustainable Bellingham. I'm president, and I'm really happy to welcome Regenerate Whatcom as a project. The board met. We officially decided to do it, and we're all so happy.
Thank you. And then Regenerate Cascadia, we're connected to the larger bioregion, and grew out of the activation tour that Brandon and Claire led, along with Joe Brewer as guest speaker. And Brandon, would you like to introduce yourself and say a little something about the larger movement of Regenerate Cascadia?
Sure. And I guess how detailed do you want me to go into Regenerate Cascadia and what we've been up to at this point, or is this just an introduction?
Just an introduction.
Introduction. So let's be brief at this point and
Sure.
Have a little bit more space in a bit.
Sure. So my name is Brandon Letzinger. I'm one of the co-administrators of Regenerate Cascadia. We are a 501c3 program and organization that is designed to create these Regenerate hubs, Regenerate guilds, and we hosted a activation tour, which kind of went through 14 different communities. And we've been working in the 2 months since then to build a network of different groups and to really create a space where the movement can land and where the energy can come and be facilitated.
Excellent. Thank you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dave, and he's going to talk for a bit about just a review of the activation tour events and a little bit more maybe. Take it away, Dave.
Yeah, thanks. So in a minute, we're going to be asking you to share your reflections about the activation tour and all the events that went along with that. But to activate your memory of that, I'm just going to do a real brief overview of what all the events were. So I'm thinking that at least some of you, if not most of you, were at those events, or at least one or two, but I know some of you were not. So they were back on October 28th and 29th, beginning with a presentation by Joe Brewer and called A Design Pathway for Regenerating Earth, which is also the title of his book. And I'm going to throw in the chat both a link to a video of his presentation and the title of his book. Actually, it looks like I got the presentation in there twice. Sorry about that. And the title of his book is in there as well. So it began with Joe giving a high-level overview of, of regeneration in general and the bioregionalism movement and what the motivation for it is, including that we've surpassed 6 of the 9 planetary boundaries that environmental scientists have identified. And of course, we don't want to.
Do not buy solar panels if you live in one of these 11 states of America.
Somebody's got audio on. Thank you. So it was an incredible, inspiring presentation. And he also spoke about, well, not only do we need to regenerate the earth, but how do we do that? And to do that through bioregionally coordinated and designed and regeneration projects, which he is doing on a large scale down in South America and has consulted with people throughout the country. So after that evening and Q&A and everything, we can go to the next slide. We did 3 tours the next day to 3 different locations, but saw about 5 different projects, actual regeneration projects, starting with Brian's project there, if you want to call it that, the Inspiration Farm. Super inspiring, great place to start. Lots of good things going on there, showing lots of the success of regenerating damaged property, working with and enhancing the natural patterns that are already there to create resilient ecosystems and to feed both people and local wildlife. We also visited a gravel pit that's right nearby, a rather large one that's about to go out of production, and talked about how that could be restored and regenerated. And we also looked at a neighbor's property who had regenerated a pasture land that was quite degraded, but now is in a functioning natural forest and drawing wildlife to the area. And after that, next slide, we headed over to Hunter Wolf's property, and he's on the line with us today too. And this is, whereas Brian's property is what a piece of degraded land can look like after a regeneration projects for quite a number of years. Hunter is pretty new on his project. You can see the land there in the lower picture. There's not much there. But they're working on creating better water flow through there. And we saw evidence of plants returning as a result of the water structures that are being put in place. And that's got a lot of work to be done. And I'm sure he's going to need some help on that in the future. And then finally, we went to River Farm, just a little further out near Deming. And this is a long-established intentional community doing great work in sustainability and food production. But one of the things we were fortunate to catch on that day was a biochar burn by the Colshan Carbon Trust. That included Howard Sharfstein and a number of people in his organization. So we learned about that, got to witness what it's like, what it takes to do it, heard some pros and cons about biochar and how to do it better or worse. And then after that, we walked down through the fields and into this pasture in the top picture and heard a lot about community forestry. So a lot of this forest in this background is community owned, and they're working on getting much more acreage in community forestry and the ecological forestry practices they have there. So, and that pretty much rounded out our day. For a more detailed activation description of all these activation tours, Brian wrote up a wonderful blog. I'll throw that in the post too. And you can take a look at that for more detail. So back to you, David.
Okay, now it's time to hear from you guys. This slide is just some photos of some of the people who RSVP'd and said they would be on this call. Obviously, there's many of you that are not showing here, but I'm going to stop sharing screen and just go into gallery view. And we will all have a chance just to check in and share your name, maybe 30 seconds or so about yourself and your background, and then your participation. If you were at any of these events, what are your reflections? Also on the bioregional summit that occurred after the event, was another time of a lot of really interesting presentations and collaborations from people. So you can reflect on that. And yeah, so how many minutes should people like think of allowing on this, Dave?
Let's see if I'm doing the math correctly. Whoops, gotta get that part of the agenda up. We've got a good, let's see. Yeah, we've got, we got about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, so a couple minutes each.
Okay, so yeah, so keep it fairly brief, please, but really interested in hearing what you guys have to say. And I'll just pick people in the order that they are on my screen. So we don't have to wait for a popcorny type of a thing. So Fanter, would you like to start?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Fanter Lane. I participated in the field trip part of the tour and gathering. I missed the presentation and the summit afterwards, but I've been doing habitat restoration work in Whatcom and Skagit counties for the past 4 years. Recently started a workers cooperative with 5 other people in Whatcom County called Salix Cooperative, and we're hoping to keep doing a lot of restoration, native restoration around and work in agroecology stuff. So that's kind of where a lot of my interest lies, and it was really great to meet people during the tour and get inspired by people doing the work in Whatcom County. And I guess I'm mostly here and excited to keep making those bridges and seeing where can connect and keep working to regenerate like native habitat, but then also look how that can evolve with food systems and forestry and all that good stuff.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey,
Steve
Fanta,
Hance?
do you have a contact or anything you can put in the chat
Yeah.
for your group?
I can also fill out the Google sheet
Yeah,
that was included in the email. I was looking at that before this, so maybe
Great.
that would be a better way to do that.
Sure.
I would encourage that. I'll talk about that later. So that would be,
Okay.
we could get more information from you in that one.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. Thank you. Steve Hansen.
Oh, hi. Yeah, so let's see. I've been in Bellingham since 2004. I live at Bellingham Co-Housing, and back, I don't know, maybe 2005 or so, we started a transition co-housing, but didn't really get much activity on that, and it kind of faded to the side. I'm also a member of the Bellingham Insight Meditation Society, which is a Buddhist Theravada meditation group, and I work with the Multi-Faith Network for Climate Justice locally. I'm a retired software developer, but I've been working on environmental issues since the 70s and 80s. Worked with a couple Green Party groups that were starting, one in New Jersey and one in south of Washington, south of Seattle. Yeah, kind of interested to see where I might fit in on this and get the yeah, we've had various eco-sustainable transition groups here at co-housing, but it's kind of a small minority of us, and like to get more of us involved, but had trouble with that. So anyway, look forward to seeing what happens here. And I went to Joe Brewer's talk and then out to the river farm the next day. And I've been following up with on the regenerative, the big group. There's a Rethinking Economics group that I've been a part of since it started, about 5 or 6 weeks now. So there we go.
Very good. Thank you. Alex.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for hosting this gathering. I guess I went to the Joe Brewer's presentation and then also participated in a couple of the Zooms afterwards. I regret that I missed the tours. Those look really excellent. I'm curious to hear more about that gravel pit that is near Brian's place. That sounds like a real challenge. So I live in Happy Valley. I might be a neighbor of Steve's. He's down the street at the co-housing. And a lot of my focus has been on neighborhood challenges, trying to get some sustainability and resiliency in this large, densely populated and economically challenged neighborhood. So I focus a lot on restoration work and planting trees. I'm trying to get our urban food forest policies figured out through my work with the Greenways levy and also the upcoming urban forest management plan, which both of them are coming to a head here. So kind of my political life, as Michael Fearer knows, I've just been flogging the crap out of these issues because we have a lot of money now, $1.5 million a year that should go to climate resiliency and these kind of goals that we share. And I'm nervous that they're all going to get spent on HVAC units or solar panels or, things that maybe don't have the long-term benefits. So I'm just thrilled that you guys are thinking along the same lines on a lot of these topics and looking at the big picture. Glad to be here.
Great. Thank you for your involvement in those important local political topics. I appreciate it. Alan, over to you.
Happy to be here. I've been seeing humanity's collective suicidal path since the late 80s. And that's when I got really excited about finding best practices, tools, modalities, methodologies for living in harmony within ourselves, with each other, with the planet. I live in a tiny intentional community in the foothills of the Cascades outside Bellingham. And at the end of 2019, right before the pandemic, launched a school for change makers to adopt mindsets, tools, skills, resources, and build community. And yeah, it's nice to see this happening, and we need it. So I'll close there.
Who's next, David?
I think David's frozen.
He's froze up, so let's choose one. How about
Tess, go. Welcome.
Hello, good to see you all. I was out of town for the events, unfortunately, but I'm so glad that you all put them on and attended. I live in the same intentional community as Alan and also helped launch the Kalapa school that he was talking about. My primary focus these last few years has been in communications that support more well-being and how we relate to ourselves, to each other. How do we actually get stuff done in groups? And I also work a lot with people who are learning English as a foreign language to create better cross-cultural relationships. And yeah, maybe that's all I want to say right now. But I've loved being involved in the whole world of helping with sustainable food and agriculture and some of the economics behind all of that as well.
And if there's anything you're stuck on in your life, Tess is a fantastic coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tess.
Thank you, Tess.
Michael and Sunita. Brian, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, some people are adding their contacts or other links in the chat, and I encourage other people to do that as well as we go along.
Hi everyone, I'm Sunita, she, her, hers, educator, activist, founder, executive director of a nonprofit, been in Whatcom for 21 going on 22 years, backgrounds in anthropology, sociology, master's in education, classroom teacher as well, been in higher ed now, and we have a 1 acre biointensive permaculture farm. I met Brian about, I think 14 years ago when I was becoming a master gardener. Hi, Michael. Selt's mom. I have some of her art. That was exciting. I'm part of the Sailor Sea Guild. Just really neat connections. I'm also a coach like Tess. I coach former foster youth, and I have my ICF ACC as of December 31st. So now I can do business and consulting coaching. Other than that, we are building a hemp house. So that's really exciting. And I'll let Michael, or not let, here's my husband, Michael, who's my partner in crime. And we do a lot of creative stuff here together.
Yeah, my name's Michael Toombs. I've been in Bellingham for about 11 years now. Like Cindy mentioned, we're starting to work on building a hemp house, joining Pam Bosch in town with that effort. And yeah, we're also trying to just build a small farm on our property as well, to regenerate the land that we live on.
I attended 2 of the events, so one in the Unitary Library, the BUF, and one at Skagit Valley College where I work. So I was really impressed in the modality, both online. I was proud of everyone's participation, knowledge, awareness. Want to give a big thanks to Brandon for technical assistance and just seeing how a new fledgling nonprofit could partner with such a big regional one. And we'll leave it there because our dog is now squeaking.
Thank you. Michael from the Million Trees Project.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Fear. I lead Whatcom Million Trees Project. We're about a 2.5-year-old nonprofit that's taken off pretty quick here in the Bellingham and Whatcom County area. We're involved with planting trees and doing a lot of tree advocacy work to save existing trees, whether it's through policy or through simple things that are forgotten about, like removing English ivy off of tree trunks. And we also hold a lot of connect events like Pickford Films and community events and things of that sort to bring people together, which we feel is as important as anything in terms of building climate resiliency in our community. And that's our goal, to is increased climate resiliency and increased health in our community. And so I attended the presentation at the Unitarian Church, both personally and as an organization. We're, interested in kind of, I guess the word that comes to my mind is kind of just following along for now and monitoring and kind of seeing where we might be able to make a, useful contribution at some point to make things happen. A lot of familiar faces here. I work with several of you, or coordinate in some ways. So anyways, good to see you all, and thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you, Michael. Maddie, it looks like you have yourself and a couple of others there in the room with you.
Yeah, I'm hosting maybe the largest viewing party at this call tonight, but it's myself, my sister-in-law, Nadia, my father-in-law was behind us, and he's now watching the two kids. So my name is Maddie Marvin. I live in downtown Bellingham, fairly new to the Bellingham area. Same with Nadia. She lives up in Birch Bay. And I feel like everyone here has really inspirational and interesting stories, but mine doesn't feel that way. I'm just learning about permaculture and kind of the whole regenerate Whatcom approach, and really interested and inspired by it. I am a CPA for a large retail corporation for my day job, and trying to figure out how to get more of this stuff in my daily life. So I've just kind of searched permaculture in Bellingham and came across Brian's farm and visited there and kind of volunteered for a couple hours, and true to its name, was left very inspired each time. So trying to get more involved with this cause and kind of learn what folks around the area are doing. I'll let Nadia speak for herself.
Nice to meet you all. My name is Nadia, and I just moved to the area a couple of months ago with an intention to settle down here and hopefully purchase a piece of land with my husband and start maybe a little farm of our own, be part of a community, and just happy to be here and to learn.
Great. It's great to have both of you here. Thank you. Sam Humphreys, over to you.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I'm Sam. I grew up in Bellingham, and I currently work for a local sustainability consulting firm, and we do a few different types of projects. I was brought to this because of David Ketter. We've crossed paths in a number of different arenas, and I think the kind of the process or journey that I'm on at this point is learning more about the systems that I am entangled in and figuring out how I can disentangle from the ones that I think aren't serving me, like interpersonally, and then also ones that I think aren't serving us. So navigating how do I do that in a way that is comfortable and still it's a change journey. So that's what I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Megan, over to you.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I live across the border in Vancouver. I've been involved in sustainability and intentional communities for a long time. And about a year and a half ago, I went to our eco village and did a permaculture design certificate where I met Claire Atwell, who's just joined us. So through Claire, I've been sort of aware of and involved in Regenerate Cascadia from the very beginning. I didn't put Vancouver on the activation tour for a number of reasons, but I did go to all the events in Victoria, and I wasn't able to come to the Bellingham events because I was really reticent to cross the border. I hadn't crossed it since COVID, but now I've sort of popped that, overcome that barrier. So now I'm happy to travel down there. But not until the tour did I realize that sort of Inspiration Farm and Transition Whatcom and all that's happening down there was so close. So I'm really excited to have learned about it, and I've met some of you online during the summit. So going forward, I'm really interested in permaculture projects, being involved and soil regeneration, and then, really connecting across the border through Regenerate Cascadia. I'm involved, I'm linked with a number of different organizations up here. So I think we could build some good connections. Thank you.
Great. It's wonderful to have you with us. Jerry and Ginny from Transition Goshen.
And just to ask, well, first of all, you're muted. And just to ask if we could keep our comments pretty brief. We're running quite a bit over time right now.
Thank you, David. My husband and I live on 20 acres in mid-county, and we work to make things as sustainable as we can here. We've been very active in a number of different things, anywhere from stopping the coal port to the Sailor Sea Guild, and we hope to continue that activity.
Hi, I'm Jerry. We're homesteading, been here a little over 20 years, and just want to learn, regenerative practices and how we can enhance our property and our environment that we live in.
Wonderful. Yeah, Jerry and Ginny have been key contributors to the whole Transition Whatcom and Transition Goshen projects. Great to have you on the call. Claire Atwell, thank you for joining us. Would you like to check in?
Take it off mute. We'll turn on mute.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm in Victoria and one of the co-administrators for Regenerate Cascadia, and it's fantastic to see all the people that are there. And yeah, I'm just excited to see. I'm sorry I had to miss the first part of your meeting, so I've missed how you presented and what have you. But yeah, I don't know what else the question prompt was, but.
Well, I think that's good for now. Thank you, Claire.
Great.
Let's see, Hunter Leyden.
Hi, this is Hunter. I know most of you already, and then I just got a project I'm working on out in the county, trying to rewild it, and I got a video project I'm working on, doing little videos of noteworthy folks in the community. So if you have a project you'd like documented, contact me and we'll chat about it. That's it.
Thank you, Hunter. And
I just want to, Hunter's very bashful, maybe that's not the right word, but he's been an amazing support on so many issues around Whatcom County. I can't speak enough. Hunter, his passion for rewilding, for soil, for positive projects that are going on. He's a real good storyteller and a real asset to the community.
Mm-hmm. And if any of you missed it, Dave covered in the beginning that Hunter's Wildlife Sanctuary was one important part of our activation tour. Bryce Parent, good to have you on the call.
Yeah, glad to be here. Appreciate everyone's contributions. A couple of the areas that I've been engaged related to these themes are tiny house living and cycling as transportation, and I'd like to get more and more engaged in permaculture, and I appreciated the parts of the tour I was able to participate in, and glad to be here. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's really good to hear everyone's intro and touch back. And it looks like, oh, David's back.
David's
it looked
back
like
now.
it froze there for a moment. So I jumped in.
Okay. Yeah.
You're
So
back.
it's hard to tell if it's me that's freezing up or if it's somebody else. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. See if I can find our.
Okay. So I think we're on to the updates, correct?
Oops. Hold on a second. Okay, so we're going to
David?
talk.
Oh, look, before you go into this, I think Brandon was up next to do a Regenerate Cascadia update. Is that all right? We haven't done any updates yet. We were going to do the updates from Brandon, you, and Brian.
I can. This slide looks pretty Regenerate Cascadia focused, so I'm kind of, you're welcome to keep going if you like.
Just roll with it. Just give us a little mission.
Yeah, I think that would be good, Brandon.
And then we can dive into like what we've been doing on the website and the building the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's been 2 months since the activation tour, and I know that we've been pretty quiet. But we've actually been very active, and I think anybody who's maybe been in our Telegram group can see. And what we're really trying to do is create a space and a home for the Regenerate Cascadia movement to land. And as part of that, we've been really working to co-create what that means, what it looks like, the organizing structures, how we're working with each other, as well as the vision and the context with each of the organizers that really we got to meet through the activation tour. So right now we're kind of working with the goal of to create the conditions for a regenerative movement to thrive. And so that really means really working to provide a backbone with services that can really help both local groups and then topics or ways that people want to get active. And I think yeah, I'll just maybe even show you a little bit about what we're working with. And so it's going to stop this screen sharing, and I'll just screen share over here for just a moment. A lot of this has been creating a digital home for where we can provide updates and where groups and communities can have spaces that they curate. And a large part of that has been this Regenerate Cascadia website, and then integrating it with both a community and then also tools for organizers. We're working with a couple different taxonomies. The first is this idea of communities or hubs. These are the place-based groups that are emerging, and I think Regenerate Whatcom is a perfect example of that. And then the other one is topics and guilds. And so that's information that people are passionate about. We have topic experts that might be able to educate across the movement. And so that's things like bioregional education, bioregional mapping, a Cascadia Seed Guild, of which Brian and many others have been participating, where we can be working to connect the different seed guilds across Cascadia, not just here in the Salish Sea. And so it's really the communities and hubs are really focused for helping create change on the scale of a landscape. It really is about creating that bioregional vision, the framework, creating a landscape budget, creating a portfolio of projects that can work together, apply for grant funding, and do all those things. And the topic and guilds are really across watersheds. So bringing together experts, creating educational resources, classes, and then we're trying to create a space where there can be autonomy for each of those groups to have their own space, but they can also connect with a broader movement. So they can develop classes and PDFs and resources. And we've got kind of a dummy, photo gallery. All of this is very under construction. And I would say we're just getting out of an alpha stage where everything was broken to a beta stage where we're starting to invite people in, where it's kind of there. But, if you see a lot of empty spaces, that's what's going on. But you can see that we kind of have some photos that we've gathered, and we would love to invite people to actually share their photos from the activation tour, as well as experiences that they had. You can also see that there's, updates that are shared. We'll have like an update with the video of this. People can sign up for emails, upcoming events. And then the biggest thing is that now we're starting to shift back into our focus, where we're going to have an info session, probably our next, and this hasn't been updated yet, but our next info session will probably be next Thursday, the 18th. And we'll be giving a pretty deep update in what we've been up to. And then the biggest thing is that we're going to start to have meetings that introduce new people to Regenerate Cascadia with an unconference model or an open space model that can help plug people in, give updates, bioregional updates where people can be connecting to each other. Spaces for the hubs to meet. That's like leadership teams from Regenerate Whatcom meeting with Whidbey Island and other people to talk about their needs as a hub, as well as these idea of the guild meeting. So that's the people from like the Bioregional Mapping Guild and other things, the Cascadia Seed Guild, really meeting to talk with us about what they need, talk to each other, so that we can really try to start to build in the support. We've also been working to document a lot from the different activation tours, and just to kind of help give a little tour. So then every different group actually has a page, and part of this is that this is actually all already kind of being supported by a 501c3 backend. So these groups actually automatically receive support through the Regenerate Cascadia umbrella. So just David and Brian and Kelt, maybe we could just schedule a call to touch base on that and kind of what that looks like. But a big part of what we're doing is that each different group actually gets a community in our back end. And when a leadership team emerges, it can become a hub or a guild, and then it receives those benefits. It gets a restricted area in the bank account so that they can take tax deductible donations, get covered by the insurance. They get an email address. They can get a website. And then they kind of become part of this tech collective where they get all the plugins and other things. And that's kind of the goal. And then there's a space for their events. People can sign up specifically for their updates, for their email list, and all the rest of that. And so outside of that, then I think Brian might talk about this in a little bit, but there's actually a space then in a community for the Whatcom Hub. You can see that people have actually kind of been updating it, and I think Brian's been adding photos from the activation tour. And this would be a wonderful place that if people would like to go and sign up, and it's all under construction, so it might be a little shaky. But there is a space where people can upload albums from the activation tour, and it might be a really wonderful thing to help us create this proceedings document that tells the story and of the participants of this activation tour, so that we can share that lesson with other people and in places where they're just starting this out, because there are a lot of people who really want to help replicate those processes, and we'd really like to document all the hard work that kind of went into it. And then what's really fun is that these then can connect with all of the other different communities and hubs that are emerging. It can connect with all the other guilds that are creating resources and educational knowledge. And then this can all intertwine and support. And what we're trying to do with this 501c3 backend too is also to actually provide fiscal support. So a portion of all of the proceeds of money that we bring in actually goes to support different hubs and guilds. And then they can use that to help kind of model what creating a landscape budget actually looks like. What creating, what is the payroll? How do we actually get people supported to do that? And then we kind of are co-creating that with all of these different places on the ground. So that's just a little update of what we've been up to. And there's a lot more coming. And so if people are interested, I definitely recommend join the Whatcom Hub. We'll have a much more in-depth information session with Claire and I next Thursday, probably at about 6. And we'll add that information on the event calendar and the website. So yeah, thanks.
Great, thanks. Appreciate that. David, are you with us? Mr. McLeod? Maybe not.
I'm here. Thanks.
Yeah.
There we go.
That was a whirlwind tour.
Yeah, it was. And
like
we had,
what's been going on.
Hold on a second, Brian. We had David down next to do share status of RW's project of TW, et cetera. But did you already do that, or do you want to say more?
Well, I just wanted to add some things to what Brandon was saying.
Could you go after that?
Sure.
Or if it segues with Brandon, maybe we should do you first.
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, either one.
If David's ready, go for it.
No, go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Yeah, because it does have to do with the website. So I am gonna it's not letting me screen share. But so there's two parts to this website that Brandon kind of ran us through. The one part is a front-facing website, which is static web pages where stewards of each guild and hub can put up static pages that are on that website. The other part of it is this community forum, which is a you have to log in and log in and password and become a member, and then you can go into all of these discussions and chats and the regions and become a part of each community and engage in active dialogue. And you can message people. It's basically a social networking system like the Transition Whatcom Ning site, but it's specifically for the Regenerate Cascadia. And there you can get involved in the guilds, which right now there's mapping guilds, there's bioregional governance, there's the Seed Guild, the Cascadia Seed Guild. There's a number pro-social. There's a number of other guilds that are developing within this platform. And so I encourage people to go to there and then go sign up, become a member, and then he kind of, if I screen shared, I could show you.
I think you have permission now, Brian.
What's that?
I think Brandon gave you permission, and I'd love to see what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it working?
It is, for some reason, not. I got everything, but I've got everything, but no, it's all, it's weird. It's it is all has exclamation points for some reason.
Odd. Yeah, you're listed as a co-host, so there must be a glitch.
Yeah. Anyway, if you go, I put the links to the website in the chat. So if you go to the regeneratecascadia.org and then you create a login for yourself and then go to the start here at the very top, there's a number of tutorials there that'll tell you about the groups, the hubs, the forums, the guilds, and essentially how to navigate the system. And like Brandon was saying, it is, okay, who's screen sharing now?
That's me, Brian. You can tell me where to.
Oh yeah, so, well, if you're logged in, David, so go ahead and go to communities and go to Whatcom, Sailor Sea, and then Whatcom down, scroll down, there you are. Click in there. And so this takes you into another, this is a members only portion of the website, right? So this is our personal Whatcom hub, right? This is our area to discuss things. So on the left-hand side, there's a panel that has the news feed, discussions, groups, way further left there, David. There's connections, so you can connect with people. So this is a social networking type of a platform where we can share information, we can have private chats, we can put up files, you can put up different documents and share those documents, you can share links. So this is our space to be able to work on projects and communicate with one another. Up at the top where it says 22 there, David. In red, it says 22 with a little bell. That is your news feed. So that gives you announcements of, click on the notifications. That'll give you announcements of all the recent stuff that has happened. You can subscribe to any of the guilds, any of the discussions, and this is where it'll pop up in your feed there. To the left of that is where you can send messages. You can send personal messages to individuals or to whole groups.
Okay.
So this is a whole, like, just like Facebook or whatever, but it's our own space.
Right.
That's not linked to the wider web. We have control over all this data.
Awesome. Could you show us how to get to our web page? The Regenerate Walk.
And just click on the Regenerate Cascadia logo there, and that'll take you back.
I think I just set it so that the default, if you're logged in, is you go to the community. If you're logged out, you'll go to the page.
Yeah.
So if you just log out real quick, and then you can do the same thing, go to communities, Salish Sea.
If you go
yeah,
to the start here, click on that menu. So there's organizer tools. So if you're logged in, there's all kinds of organizer tools. And then there's welcome areas. So the welcome areas give you there's a bunch of tutorials that are there that kind of walk you through the various steps of this site. And granted, like Brandon said, this is still under development, and we welcome feedback on things that are not working or you'd like to see them work better. But we're trying to create a space, like Brandon said, a backbone that will support the efforts of everyone.
Great. Claire has a comment.
Yeah, I was just wanting to say, it kind of got a little bit touched on, but just the thing that, just people working in regenerative movements, a lot of the time, people could not find each other, and then the work got repeated. And so you're reinventing the wheel all the time, and you're not building and coordinating. And so the guilds create an opportunity to kind of coordinate, but share, so that things are always staying fresh and actually as up to date as possible. And it's pretty powerful. And then on the landscape scale as well, is being able to kind of share, have an information commons where you're actually able to start learning. You're starting to actually set goals and make progress on things that like in your community that you're starting to, so that'll be the next things that you're going to go towards is, well, hopefully, but is how do we learn and how do we set priorities? And, you can only start really doing that once you've got a way to coordinate. And this is kind of part of that thinking.
Right.
And
we've been talking for a while. I'm wondering if this is a good time to pause and see if anybody has questions.
Well, I have a question. When I've been on this site lately, I haven't been able to locate list of people in Bellingham and Whatcom County like I used to be able to see. Is that something that's still in progress?
Yeah, that'll be something that's added back in when we have a good way to do it. And something that is really important is that there's probably a lot of questions. You're going to hit things that don't work. There's going to be things that give you frustration. And we'd actually really love you to tell us about that. I think the thing about that's been cool in the last 2 months is we've been actually really working to co-create this with the different guilds, with the groups, with the hubs, and try to make this actually set up so that it's usable. Each different group has a space where they can have forums and threads and resources, and they can host documents. They can also create their own subgroups as they get active that have their own spaces, right? And then it all tries to filter in. A big part of having that backbone team then helps bring that knowledge back to the central core and share the wisdom and knowledge. And so helping co-create that is going to be really important. With the bioregional map specifically in that kind of member directory, yes, that'll 100% be a really big part of it. And we're also looking at trying to build in down the road, because first we just need to get it even functioning. But we'll also be things like resource directories where people can submit programs, classes, books, PDFs, podcasts, also integrating like a bioregional media where people can share articles, and then it hooks into the Cascadia Spoke, or there's kind of these resources. Those are all things that hopefully we'll get to soon.
Okay. Great. Quick question back to Brandon. Brandon, you said, let us know if things go glitchy. How do we do that?
So even under that start menu, there's it literally says tech support. And that's just actually a thread in, it's a welcome group. And you can do tech support and feedback. And then you can literally just go and let us know. And then what I'll also be doing is we're going to put in something soon that's going to be called Idea Push, where people can also submit ideas that they would like to see on the website, and then people can upvote it, downvote it. So we're really going to be working to invite a lot of submissions to make this as usable for people and projects, and specifically regenerative communities, as possible. And a lot of that will also be hooked in that we want to start having meetings where we're like gathering the different like hub organizers and the different guild organizers, where we can also be talking in those spaces about what do you need, what do you have resources of. Yeah.
Excellent.
As you may have noticed, you have to be logged in to be able to give this feedback. So you have to create an account and log yourself in, and then you can give feedback.
And Claire, unless it's critical,
Yeah.
we need to move on.
Yeah, I think it's really worth saying that none of this work has been funded. There's been a few little, some prize money and a few little like really tiny grants. So, it's incredible what's actually happened with basically people leaning in. The idea is to start getting funded, but yeah, I just wanted to really point that out. It may look like we're doing it with, but yeah, it's a lot of hours that people are putting in because they believe in it. So
Great.
Thank you.
David, I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. Anything where we should jump to, Dave, or should I just start in?
Yeah, I would say anything you want to say about the connection between Regenerate Whatcom, Transition Whatcom, and then the mission, vision, guiding principles of both RC and RW, and our process for getting one for RW, all of that can mix together.
Okay.
Where you were on the slides before.
Okay, give me a second.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience as we muddle through this agenda.
Okay, and yeah, so we're just going to go through these slides really quickly, and not going to like read through all the wording here. So encourage you, if you're really interested, which I hope you are, that you would, when you watch the recording, maybe pause on this screen and go ahead and give it a read. But I think that it's really important to have a clear vision and mission, and it's important for us as we get involved to know what we're committing to, and to be clear about that that we're in alignment. And so we haven't completely defined a Regenerate Whatcom vision and mission statement, but we're thinking about it, and we want to be in alignment with the Regenerate Cascadia vision and mission, which was on the screen earlier, and with Sustainable Bellingham and Transition Whatcom. So this is giving some context of our related organizations. So for Sustainable Bellingham, our vision is to promote and participate in the co-creation of sustainable community in Bellingham and the surrounding bioregion in partnership with other groups and individuals. So that's rather broad and generic, and then the mission goes into some more details. For Transition Whatcom, our vision is resilient and more self-reliant communities throughout Whatcom County with a local food supply, sustainable energy resources, a healthy local economy, and a growing sense of vitality and community well-being. Again, some more details in the mission section of it. And there's a lot of documents and procedures and agreements and things that we came to in Transition Whatcom. And those can all be found on the About Us page at the Transition Whatcom Ning site. We also really want to be in alignment with the basic outlines of what Joe Brewer talks about in his book and what he talked about on the tour. One of the key points I think is really important is to be aware of the 9 planetary boundaries and the fact that we've already crossed 6 of them. I'm not going to talk about this, but we should set aside some time to talk about it. In Joe's book, The Design Pathway for Regenerating Earth, I took out just a few of the key things in his book that I think could go into feeding a vision and mission statement for Regenerate Whatcom. he talks about the 9 planetary boundaries, and he calls it like a North Star, that we have a goal to get back within those boundaries and not to be crossing those borders. To follow the principles for regenerative economies, and I have some page number references here, to promote integrated landscape management across the Cascadia bioregion, to embrace the pro-social process in our governance and interactions. And we have well, I think we may have already passed a slide on that one, but
We can go back to it.
and to hold the vision of connecting to a larger network of bioregions.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back to?
Go back to the one before that, because we didn't really go over that slide. So
Okay.
if you want to say something about the mission and the core principles.
Okay, we'll read through this rather quickly. The Regenerate Cascadia mission, as I found on their website, an emerging community of regenerators. Regenerate Cascadia supports regenerative projects, communities, and organizers to reinforce work happening on the ground, to grow bioregional governance, and celebrate our unique stories, autonomy, and context of place. We work to create the conditions for a regenerative movement to thrive with the following core principles: bioregional, regenerative, nested scales, subsidiarity, evolving culture, whole systems thinking, to lead with questions, not solutions, and to let the land guide our choices. To see people supported as defined by them. And following the pro-social's 8 core design principles, did you want to say something about, do you want to go through these, Dave?
Just, yes, briefly, this is something you're going to be hearing a fair amount about, especially as we build the organization. These core design principles and the core principles that you saw on the previous page will really guide that. These are our touchstones. Is it clear group identity and shared sense of purpose? Do we have fair distribution, et cetera, et cetera? So somewhere along the line, some group, maybe this one, is going to create a 101 on pro-social framework and principles. And then everybody will be encouraged to either view that on their own, or we'll hold classes, brief half-hour, 45-minute, 1-hour presentations about it, so that we're really understanding what the roots are, what the core, what the ground is that will guide our work together in the future. So I'm just getting familiar with it myself. It's something I've been interested in for years, and now I have a reason to really dive into it. Good for now.
Great. Okay, so time for what we call on our agenda, deepening connections. So we've talked about the Regenerate Cascadia website. Let me just, I'm going to stop sharing again here and start sharing to, let's see.
And to let people know, I'm throwing in links into the chat again that will lead to all these deepening connection sources. And we've already thrown a few in there for the Regenerate Cascadia and Regenerate Whatcom hubs and websites, web pages.
All right, I'm having a little bit of trouble here finding where I want to go here. Try this again.
So while you're doing that, I'll just throw out, like, we're trying to build a way for people to communicate and coordinate. But what we are looking for is your passions, how you want to be engaged. What role do you want to play within this organization? So think about that.
Yeah, we're coming to that. That's our next agenda item. So good segue. Once David is finished with this.
So Transition Whatcom also has a social networking site. It's at transitionwhatcom.ning.com. And many of you are already joined to that website. And to have visibility for Regenerate Whatcom within the Transition Whatcom group. We have you'll see the at the top of this page, if you were to join Transition Whatcom, you could go to the groups menu, and right under that is groups, which is where I am right now. And then see a list of all the groups that we have. Most of them now are inactive, but this is the new group called Regenerate Whatcom, which has 9 folks have joined. And so this is a place where we're just keeping visibility for excuse me, for Regenerate Whatcom on our Transition Whatcom page. And it doesn't have all the features that Brian and Brandon just described, but we do have some features here. You can post comments, we can post links. Obviously, we have an events page also in Transition Whatcom, which where we can create events, and those will go out into a newsletter to go out to our 1,400 subscribers. You know, you can join this group. You can have your photo on there, and there's ways to message and connect and interact with one another on the Transition Whatcom site as well. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Yeah, appreciate that. I think maybe we'll have a discussion in the future. It's good to see that the hub is up and we have all those ways of communicating and sharing, and then we have this. A little concerned that now we have 2 places. And we may need to get some clarification whether to use one or the other, or be clear about which one we use for what.
Right.
But we can discuss that offline.
Yeah.
And with your input.
As the tool grows, which it sounds like it's really becoming robust pretty quickly at Regenerate Cascadia tools and those sites, that might be what we end up focusing on. And, you know, maybe the Transition Whatcom part, maybe we keep it just to kind of keep visibility within our Transition Whatcom people that aren't directly involved, and help them to find their way there.
All right.
Okay, so
let's see. We did the web page already.
Yeah.
And I mentioned earlier who was it? I forget. Somebody mentioned that they had already, Banter, it was you. You had shared some information on the Whatcom County or the Regenerate Whatcom Connections Google Sheet. So I've thrown that link in the chat as well. And that's just a spreadsheet with columns like, I don't think I'll need to show it. It'll have your name, email address, phone, website, your interests and offerings, needs and wants. Do you own property? Are you available to volunteer? Organization or business associated with, other comments. So it's a place where you can share much more than just your email, which is what we did in the chat. So strongly encourage each of you, if you haven't already, to please visit that, both to see who's there already. We've got, like, I forget, 16, 18 people who have given their information. And hopefully soon yours will be on there as well, if it's not already.
And to make sure that we have your contact info so you can be on our mailing list.
Yeah. So that's another way we can stay connected. It's just a first start. Who knows what we'll come up with in the future, but it's a way to get started for now.
And we also wanted to reference that Joe Brewer has a design school for regeneration. It's a really good resource. And are you going to put the link to that in the chat, Dave?
It's already there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So,
can I just say, David, it's actually the Design School for Regenerating Earth.
It's
very good. The design school for regenerating Earth is what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's in the chat. We just didn't get it right on the slide.
There's going to be kind of an exciting thing coming up starting in March too, that we're now talking with Joe kind of about partnering around, which is he's going to host birthing bioregional learning centers, and Regenerate Cascadia is going to be one of the big focuses. And we're talking about how to partner up so that we can provide access to that for all of the landscape stewards who might be interested. We'll actually probably put together a Cascadia cohort that'll get free access to that. And so I think that'll be really exciting. And as part of that, we'll actually kind of start to co-create also what the hubs are with the hub leaders, and through a class, so it should be pretty cool too.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the part I'm really excited about.
Very good. And
Okay, so quote from Walt Disney, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So some of you might be excited to begin doing things, but also to talk about the polarity of that. The I Ching said the germinal phase is the crux. So it is important that we think carefully about how we start, make sure we're doing things right, and that we're getting things set up correctly. Portion of a poem from David White, who says, "Start close in. Don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing, close in, the step you don't want to take." Now, we might disagree about not wanting to take that step, but that relates more to the rest of his poem. But I think it is a good point to start close in and to be careful about our first, second steps, because that really sets the path that we're taking.
Got it.
And so thank you. And now,
David, sorry, David, you skipped a couple things.
no, I didn't skip, but I'm saying now's the time we don't have any more slides, but we have a couple more things. So take it away, Dave.
Great. Sorry about that. I didn't want to shut down too soon. Well,
no.
Segues with the Walt Disney thing about the doing. So the next part is upcoming events. And the primary ones, I think, Brian, you already mentioned one or two, the seed swap. And then I've heard you've got a permaculture class as well. So Brian, could you speak to those?
Yeah, we have a number of things that are coming up on the docket. A series of workshops here at Inspiration Farm. There's another few events at Queen Mountain Farm that are focused on regeneration, and the seed swap, which will tentatively, we're waiting to hear back from Unitarian Fellowship, tentatively the 17th of February. So pencil that in on your calendar. We're also looking for volunteers to help us set up and tear down there. So if anybody's interested in helping on that, that'd be lovely. Contact Kelt, myself, or Ginny. And yeah, and then we are planning a full permaculture design certificate course. That'll be June and July. So it's going to be 4 separate weekends and then a 1-week intensive camp out hands-on event. And we're focusing this on, the whole basic PDC kind of course modules, but all focused on hands-on practical real installations, not theoretical stuff. So it's going to be actually doing community projects, actually installing stuff on people's properties, actually surveying and making real designs for various scenario, contexts, and really focusing on the hands-on aspect of this work.
Fantastic.
And then I am working on fledgling starting a community nursery for tree crops. So this is really focusing on scaling up the ability for us to produce tree food, fiber, fuel, and medicine, tree and perennial shrub nursery stock for regenerative projects. So yeah, contact me. We don't have a set schedule. It's going to be like the Salo Seed Guild, well, 1 day a week kind of volunteer kind of project ongoing.
Sounds great, Brian. Thanks for all of that. I'm curious.
Brian, if I may interject,
yes.
At the seed swap, in between the setup and the teardown, we had the volunteers also can act as seed ambassadors, where they get to stand behind a table of beans or brassicas or whatever, and just talk bean to the public for a couple hours during the seed swap.
Excellent. And anybody else that has an announcement about an event, now's a good time to do it. Claire, do you have one?
Well, actually, it is kind of an announcement, but it is a comment too, is that one of the things that I'm really aware of is that often permaculture courses are taught without a bioregional context. And I'm thinking that with the bioregional learning journey that, or the, what's it called? Bioregional Learning Center, birthing of a bioregional learning center. I'm just wondering how much you could integrate of bioregional learning. It's sort of like a challenge, but it's just something that's been a concern of mine, looking at permaculture teaching. It would be fantastic to have it tied into bioregional learning.
We're definitely focusing on contact bioregionalism in the approach to our hands-on projects. So this is based on like place-based living and attention to how our indigenous stewards manage landscapes and how we need to relearn these skills to integrate that. And I'll put in the chat a link to Whatcom Permaculture, which is another kind of side project of mine that where we put it has been a clearinghouse for various workshops and presentations and events, is whatcompermaculture.com. And we will post it on the Regenerate Cascadia site as well. I will mention on the seed swap, dovetailing onto what Kelt talked about, we normally have people do several presentations during that time frame of the seed swap, and we haven't set that schedule yet. And so I'll invite people, if they're keen to give a presentation around seeds or seed stewardship or planting or even Cascadia, we'll entertain those.
Right.
Brian, Sam is asking when the 1 week intensive will take place.
I will, it's all still in flux. The best thing is to stay tuned to the all the information on either Inspiration Farm or Whatcom Permaculture website.
Great.
Or Transition Whatcom.
Yeah. And I'll put that in the chat. The dates, the tentative dates are on the Whatcom Permaculture website right now.
Right. Thank you.
Are there any other event announcements?
If not, and the next item was to open it up to you even more and ask all of you which ways you might want to be involved in general in this movement moving forward, and or what kind of events, gatherings, interfaces that you would like to see in the future, whether or not you're willing to birth them. If you're willing to help birth them, awesome, even better. But just a brainstorm session, open opportunity to share ways you'd like to get involved and what you'd like to see in the future. Any thoughts at this time? Or anything you heard today that you're excited about? Alex, you're coming back on. Do you have something to share?
Well, I don't know how to approach this, but for our Bellingham listeners, I can't reiterate enough how exciting it is that we're getting a urban forest master plan for the city of Bellingham. The ideal is to protect 45% of the canopy coverage here in Bellingham. And I have a pretty high tolerance for local politics, but I understand that a lot of people don't. But now is a good time to plug into that, because city council is going to come kind of ratify the final stage of that process. So if you have a chance to check out the city's website and search the Urban Forest Master Plan, it'd be great to have more people commenting and supporting their efforts, because it's pretty broad ranging. It could include things like fruit trees on right of ways, urban forests or urban food forests, expanded community gardens, and things like that. They really left it wide open. So it's a good opportunity to get our local government engaged with the type of work that we're trying to promote here.
Alex, it might be worth having a meeting where you kind of like give us an overview of that and how we can, you know, have some discussion about what our options are and what some recommended ways for us to get involved and give our input.
Yeah, I would echo that. And I would say, like, if you can put a link or put a little synopsis together and then post that as a discussion on the Regenerate Whatcom portion of the website, that would be great. I think we can get some traction. I've been involved with talking to a number of people about creating urban foodscapes along the interurban trail and other things to reintroduce more productive species of tree cover within the city landscape. So I would encourage you to take the lead on that and start a group, and people will come.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about events and ways to become involved?
I'll also add, part of why I do a nursery is to provide trees for things like that. So, you know, that's why I want a community nursery, is so we can, oh, here's an opportunity. Let's throw a bunch of plants at it. You know, let's get it done.
Nice.
Okay. Well, David, would you like to then wrap up and talk about next possible meeting?
Sure. And anybody has some closing thoughts or further reflections or ideas of how they want, ideas about, you know, what they want to do or how you want to be involved, you know, speak up now or contact us, reach out to us.
I'll speak up again. Sorry. For Michael and Suni, we have been talking about doing and if Michael or Suni are there, you can unmute and chime in. We've talked about doing like an urban water in the landscape series of workshops. So that's been something that's kind of been simmering, but with more interest or involvement, it could come to fruition. So this would be topics around gray water systems, rainwater catchment, you know, micro earthworks kind of projects, building soil that retains water and building the small water cycle within an urban landscape.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. We have a small 1 acre piece of property. We live technically in the county, but on Bennett Drive near the airport. So, and we are to the point where we do need to do a little bit of earthworks, building a small pond. Last year I did one swale in the yard, but there's opportunities for other things. And then I have some IBC totes and other things that I want to do, connect for rain, water and catchment. So these are all things that could be a part of that workshop possibly.
And Brian directed a swale project on my half acre in the Birchwood neighborhood a number of years ago. So, you know, we come look at what's been done, and I still have more that I need to do for water catchment and things as well.
Yeah, I think there's a big need for urban water landscape design, whether it's curb cuts or rainwater catchment or gray water systems, filtration systems, all of this. So it's rebuilding that small water cycle in an urban landscape.
Yeah, great. Well, I think we've reached the end of our agreed time slot here, so we'll draw this to a close. Really appreciate so many of you showing your interest and attending this meeting and your involvement all the way through. I think in the whole Cascadia activation tour and the summit that followed, a lot of folks from our area have been participating. So it's really encouraging. And yeah, you know, all you guys just showing up and being available and all of these things is encouraging to us and helps us like keep at it. And if you'd like to be further involved, please reach out to us. We're going to have another meeting in another month. Does this same, what is it, Wednesday evening at 7 p.m., is this a good time for us for our next meeting in February?
Second Wednesday in February.
Okay, I'm not hearing a positive yes or no, so
Go
that's
for it.
be what it ends up being.
I just want to mention
that works for us.
Yeah, I just want to mention, if people want to save the chat, there's 3 little buttons at the bottom of the chat. You click on that and you can save the chat, and that'll have all the links and stuff there.
Yeah. Nice way to do it.
Where does it save it to?
Yeah, some people have that, some people don't.
Download folder.
Download folder. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I can't remember what else I'm supposed to say to close, Dave. Do you have any further thoughts?
Nothing too much, I think, at this point, except a thank you to all for showing up tonight and for whatever contributions you made. It's good to get to meet you all, hear a little bit more about you, what you're excited about in the future. Feel free to contact us. I think all 3 of us, Brian, David, and I, have put our contact information in the chat. It's also in the the connection sheet. So let's stay connected. If not before then on February, whatever date that is, second Wednesday in February, we'll continue the conversation and get in a little deeper on some of these things we introduced tonight.
Great.
So, thank you all.
I just want to give a great big shout out to Brandon, who's been holding down the fort, and
Claire.
And I've been involved on the Telegraph group, and everybody is like been putting this thing together and frantic over the holidays and through sicknesses and everything else.
Yeah.
Well,
And to you, Brian, for really diving in with the website group as well, and Mark and ushering us through that tonight.
Yeah, I'll throw it back to David, and Brian, and anybody else who's been involved, just because it's been amazing to actually have like the landscape teams and hubs and guilds and people who are actually willing to work with us through a very broken process from the beginning, where it's all very emergent. So to have actual people that we get to work with on that and actually co-create it around their needs, that's the whole point. And so it's been it's wonderful to have that type of feedback and input, and it's really exciting to see what's growing now out of that, and how many people are turning out to make this kind of happen. So it's really exciting.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Thank you all.
Hey,
Just
Dave,
about the second Wednesday, that is Valentine's Day, if that's important.
Love the earth.